How ticket fees got so bad, and why they won't get better. After an FTC workshop about the astronomical fees added on to most concert tickets, it is fairly clear that nothing is being done. For the Consumer Reports, the magazine's staff drew attention to what they called the ticket fee frenzy by dissecting the price of a floor-level seat at a Guns N' Roses concert taking place that summer in Kansas City, Missouri. The ticket, which supposedly cost $250, would actually be $300.75 after fees. In other words, 20% of the ticket's face value was tacked on in the form of itemized fees with confusing names. There was a $19.50 delivery fee to cover expenses of mailing a ticket. $1 for facility. While these particular numbers may be new to you if you do not live in the Midwest and attend canonical classic rock concerts, the gist is likely familiar. According to fees of this size are a common source of confusion and ire. Close to $7,000. While everyone seems to understand that the fees are both one very high and two seemingly nonsensical, it is less clear why they've been allowed to get this way and whether there's any chance at all that they might change. On Tuesday, the FTC hosted About the Ticketing Industry, with a one-hour panel about the adequacy of ticket price and fee disclosures. This may not sound. The panel was a mix of industry representatives Ticketmaster, its smaller competitor Eventbrite, as well as secondary market retailers SeatGeek and StubHub, and consumer protection advocates from the Better Business Bureau and Consumer Reports. It also included. It was moderated by Michael Ostheimer, an attorney for the FTC's Advertising Practices Division. He was quite clear. Why are there all these different fees, Patty Ann? He read off of one question card directed at Ticketmaster's Patty Ann Tarleton, an executive vice president present on the panel. Minutes later, he started to read another. Please explain how a $15 convenience fee is fair. And trailed off. I think we've already. Someone in the audience stood up and yelled that they had been listening all day and would like to say something. Ostheimer said. StubHub, represented by its in-house compliance counsel John Lawrence, quickly came under fire for the way it presents its fees. The additional cost. I tested this out by pretending to buy a ticket to the Nationals Wednesday concert in Prospect Park, which was advertised at $66.50, but came out to $83.88 after a $14.88 service fee and a $2.50 fulfillment fee. Asked why StubHub charges a fulfillment fee for tickets the customer prints out at home, Lawrence said that there's a flat fee for PDF-type tickets because the seller has to upload it. He also said that this is a textbook place where a regulator could make a big difference. Ms. Sarah Fisher Ellison chimed in, suggesting the FTC just mandate that all ticket sellers use the same upfront all-in pricing so that no one company would be taking the risk of seeming more expensive than the others in Google search results. Essentially, having all-in pricing on some platforms and not others is too confusing. It needs to be This is where Tarleton elected to speak up, saying that Ticketmaster always makes disclosures about its fees and its hundreds of competitors don't. In Canada, the whole thing took an hour, and at the end, there was no consensus on how to make ticket fees more fair. Nothing was even on. At no point during the panel did it come up that Ticketmaster has been the subject of both state and federal government scrutiny in more than one country for years because of its fees. In 2016 and since early 2018, the Department of Justice has been investigating Ticketmaster's parent company, Live Nation, for anti-competitive practices. Last April, obviously, we're used to paying fees anytime we buy tickets online. But they typically fee museums of $1 or $2 for buying tickets online, and this makes sense as well. Glitzier events. This is somewhat baffling, but we can intuit that Ticketmaster knows just how dedicated fans are to seeing their favorite artists, and how much they can wring out of them in that moment of high-stakes desperation. Last year, it hasn't even been 5 years since Ticketmaster requiring it to pay out $400 million to more than 50 million ticket buyers who were charged unexplained order processing fees and UPS delivery fees that weren't actually spent on anything in particular. In addition to that lawsuit, by angry Wilco and Bruce Springsteen fans, paid out anybody who had bought tickets on the Ticketmaster website between October 21, 1999 and February 27, 2013. But it's worth nothing, now that the country's largest promoter and venue owner and the country's largest ticket seller are one company. Permitted by the Obama administration's Justice Department to merge in 2010. There's very little to hold these fees in check. As reporter David at the FTC meeting on Tuesday, the online ticketing industry insisted that it can regulate itself. An insistence that has been backed up by its actions over the past 20 years. There's not much twice a week. We'll send you the best good stories exploring what we buy, why we buy it, and why it matters.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Cooking up, open the park pot.